The grenade is rolling toward him. 3 seconds. Maybe 2. Private First Class. Frank Tachovsky doesn't move. Can't move. Because if he does, the 27 Japanese soldiers surrounding him will realize he's not surrendering. He's lying. And they'll cut him down before he takes his next breath. The Type 97 grenade stops rolling, right there, 6 inches from his boot. He has one chance to grab it, one chance to survive the next 47 seconds. But how? How did a Pennsylvania coal miner's son end up surrounded by nearly 30 enemy soldiers with nothing but a prayer and a death wish? To understand this impossible moment, we need to go back 72 hours. To when Frank Tachovsky thought this was going to be just another routine patrol on Cebu Island, Philippines. March 1945. He had no idea that in 3 days he'd be pulling off something so insane, so brutal, that even his own commanders wouldn't believe the after-action report. Frank Tachovsky was 22 years old, born in Conemaugh, Pennsylvania, steel country, coal country, the kind of place where you learn to use your hands or you didn't eat. His father worked 16-hour shifts underground, came home black with dust, and did it again the next day. Frank learned early that when life puts you in a tight spot, you don't freeze, you don't cry, you move. That lesson, it's about to save his life 27 times in the next 47 seconds. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. In March 1945, Frank's a machine gunner with the US Army's 97th Infantry Division. They call them the Trident Division. Most of these guys have never seen combat. They've been training for 2 years, waiting, drilling. Now they're finally in the Pacific Theater, and the war is ending. Germany's collapsing, Japan's on the ropes. Most soldiers think they'll never fire a shot. Frank Tachovsky is about to fire more shots in one afternoon than most soldiers fire in their entire deployment. Cebu Island. March 20th, 1945. The morning starts quiet. Too quiet. Frank's squad is on a recon patrol, sweeping the jungle near the Mananga River. Their job? Find any remaining Japanese holdouts. Most of the Imperial Army has pulled back or surrendered, but not all of them. Some units refuse to quit. They'd rather die than face the shame of surrender. Frank's carrying his M1919 Browning machine gun, 30 pounds of American steel. He's humping it through thick jungle, sweat pouring down his face, boots sinking into mud. His buddy, Jimmy Costello from Brooklyn, keeps cracking jokes. Hey, Ski. That's what they call Frank. Ski for Tachovsky. When we getting back? I got a date with a hot meal and a cold beer. Frank doesn't laugh. He's got this feeling, this tightness in his gut. Something's wrong. The jungle's too quiet. No birds, no insects, nothing. Then they hear it. Japanese voices. Close. Real close. The squad freezes. Their sergeant, a guy named Matthews from Oklahoma, holds up his fist. Stop. Everyone drops. Frank can hear them now, lots of them, moving through the jungle parallel to their position. Matthews starts signaling. Fall back. Quiet. But it's too late. A Japanese scout spots them, 30 yards away. The kid can't be more than 19. He locks eyes with Jimmy Costello. For 1 second, nobody moves. Then the Japanese soldier screams, "Gwa Gwo Lila!" And all hell breaks loose. Gunfire erupts from 3 directions. The Americans are boxed in. Frank hits the dirt, swinging his Browning around, but he can't get a clear shot. The jungle's too thick. Matthews is yelling, "Fall back! Fall back!" But there's nowhere to go. They're surrounded. Frank fires a burst into the trees, sees a Japanese soldier drop, then another. But they keep coming. How many? He counts muzzle flashes. 10, 15, 20. Maybe more. Jimmy Costello gets hit, takes a round through the shoulder, spins around, goes down hard. Frank's crawling toward him, dragging that 30-pound machine gun through the mud, bullets snapping over his head like angry hornets. He reaches Jimmy. "I got you. I got you." But when he looks up, Matthews and the others are gone, vanished into the jungle. It's just Frank and Jimmy now, and about 30 Japanese soldiers who smell blood. Frank makes a decision. He can't carry Jimmy and the machine gun. Can't fight effectively while dragging a wounded man. So he does the only thing he can. He tells Jimmy, "Play dead. Don't move. Don't breathe. I'm coming back for you." Jimmy nods, blood soaking through his uniform. Frank takes his machine gun and runs. Not away from the enemy. Toward them. Because if they're chasing him, they're not executing Jimmy. The Japanese see him moving. They start pursuing. Frank's crashing through the jungle, branches whipping his face, and he can hear them behind him. Shouting. Coordinating. These aren't conscripts. These are veterans. Maybe remnants of the 102nd Division, guys who've been fighting since China. They know how to hunt. Frank breaks into a clearing. Bad move. He's exposed. He spins around, drops to one knee, and opens up with the Browning. Brrrrrrap! The gun bucks in his hands. 2 Japanese soldiers go down. 3. The others scatter into the trees. Frank uses the moment. He runs again, but he's running out of jungle. Ahead of him, the ground drops away. A ravine. Steep sides. Maybe 30 feet deep. He has a choice. Turn and fight here, in the open, where they'll flank him in seconds. Or go down into that ravine and hope there's cover. He jumps. Frank slides down the slope, dirt and rocks cascading around him. The Browning slams against his ribs. He hits the bottom hard, rolls, comes up in a crouch, and realizes he's made a terrible mistake. The ravine is a kill box, steep walls on 3 sides, only one way out, and the Japanese are already moving to block it. He can see them up on the ridge, silhouettes against the sky, counting them. 20, 25. Wait, 27. 27 Japanese soldiers, and 1 American with a machine gun that's about to run out of ammunition. He's got maybe 200 rounds left. That's it. 7 rounds per enemy soldier if he doesn't miss. If the gun doesn't jam. If they don't just wait him out. Frank checks the belt. Counts the links. Exactly 211 rounds. Against 27 enemy soldiers who have grenades, rifles, and time. He had no idea that in about 90 seconds he'd be holding one of those grenades. And it wouldn't be pointed at him. The Japanese aren't rushing. Why would they? They've got him trapped. Frank can hear their NCO barking orders, spreading the men out, setting up a perimeter. They're going to kill him slowly, methodically, maybe torture him first. Extract information. Frank's seen what they do to prisoners. He's not going out like that. He chambers around in the Browning, sights down the barrel, waits. The first Japanese soldier peers over the edge of the ravine. Frank doesn't fire. Not yet. Another appears. Then another. They're getting cocky, confident. That's when Frank opens up. Brrrrrrrap. The first soldier's head snaps back. The second takes 3 rounds to the chest. They fall backward, disappearing from view. The others scatter. But now they know where he is. And here come the grenades. The first one arcs over the edge. Type 97 hand grenade. Frank sees it tumbling through the air, the fuse ribbon trailing behind it. He's got maybe 4 seconds. He rolls left. The grenade hits where he was just lying. Boom. Dirt and shrapnel spray everywhere. His ears are ringing. Can't hear anything but a high-pitched whine. Another grenade. This one lands short, bounces, rolls toward him. Frank kicks it away. It explodes against the ravine wall. Rock fragments pepper his back. His uniform's shredded. He's bleeding from a dozen small cuts. But he's alive. Barely. The grenades keep coming. 1, 2, 5, 8. The Japanese are trying to flush him out or blow him apart. Frank's hugging the ground, pressing himself into every depression, every rock. The concussions are rattling his brain, his vision's blurring. He tries to return fire, but he can't get a clear shot. They're smart, throwing from cover. And then something changes. The grenades stop. Silence. Except for that ringing in Frank's ears. Why did they stop? He peers up toward the ridge, sees movement. The Japanese NCO is standing there, in full view, shouting something. Frank doesn't speak Japanese, but he recognizes the tone. It's an ultimatum. Surrender or die. The NCO's holding something up. A white cloth. The international symbol. Give up, American. You fought well. Now it's over. Frank's got maybe 30 rounds left in the Browning. Against 27 enemies he can't even see anymore. What would you do? Frank Tachovsky does something insane. He stands up. Slowly. Hands in the air. The Browning's on the ground beside him. He's making himself the biggest target possible. The Japanese NCO nods. Says something to his men. They start emerging from cover, rifles pointed at Frank, but fingers off triggers. They think he's surrendering. They think this American coal miner's son has broken. They're wrong. Frank's counting them as they appear. 1, 2, 5, 10, 15. He needs them all visible, all exposed. Because what he's about to do, there's no second chance. 20 soldiers now. 22. 25. The NCO starts descending into the ravine, barking orders. His men follow. They're smiling. Laughing. One of them says something that makes the others chuckle. Frank keeps his hands up, keeps his face blank. Inside, he's measuring distances, calculating angles, watching. The closest Japanese soldier is now 15 feet away. Then 10. The soldier's reaching for his belt, pulling out rope to bind Frank's hands. That's when Frank sees it. On the soldier's webbing, 3 Type 97 grenades, just hanging there, within reach, if Frank's fast enough. 7 feet. The soldier's right in front of him now, talking. Frank doesn't understand the words, but the meaning is clear. You're our prisoner. You're going to tell us everything. The soldier reaches for Frank's wrist, and Frank moves. His right hand shoots down, rips a grenade from the soldier's belt. His left hand grabs the soldier's rifle, yanks it up and away. The soldier's eyes go wide. He tries to scream, but Frank's already pulling the pin with his teeth, spitting it out, and throwing. The grenade sails over the soldier's shoulder, right into the cluster of Japanese troops behind him. For 1 second, everyone freezes. They see the grenade, their own grenade, tumbling through the air toward them. Then boom. The explosion is massive. Bodies fly. The concussion knocks 3 soldiers off their feet. Frank doesn't wait. He slams the rifle butt into the soldier's face, grabs the other 2 grenades from his belt, pulls both pins, and throws them in 2 different directions. Left, right, boom, boom. 2 more explosions, more screams. The ravine is chaos now. Smoke, dust, bodies. Frank drops, grabs his Browning, and starts firing. The gun roars. Japanese soldiers are running, trying to find cover, but there is no cover. Frank's sweeping the barrel left to right to left. Controlled bursts. 3 rounds. 4. Drop. Next target. The belt's feeding smooth. 20 rounds gone. 40. 60. A Japanese soldier charges him with a bayonet. Frank swings the Browning, fires point blank. The soldier's chest erupts. He falls. Frank's already pivoting. Another target. Fire. Another. Fire. The gun's so hot the barrel's starting to glow. His hands are burning, but he can't let go. Can't stop. If he stops, he dies. A grenade lands next to him. He grabs it, throws it back. 1 second later, it explodes among 3 Japanese soldiers trying to flank him. Frank doesn't even watch them fall. He's already engaging the next threat. The NCO, the officer who demanded his surrender. The man's got a Nambu pistol, firing wildly. Frank stitches him across the stomach. The NCO goes down. The Browning clicks empty. Belt's gone. Frank doesn't panic. There's a dead Japanese soldier 3 feet away. Still has his rifle. An Arisaka, Type 38. Frank grabs it, cycles the bolt. 5 rounds in the magazine. 5 Japanese soldiers still moving. He takes a breath, aims, fires. The first soldier drops. Bolt, eject, load, aim, fire. The second soldier falls. Bolt, eject, load, aim, fire. Third soldier, down, bolt, eject, load. 2 Japanese soldiers left. They're running now, trying to escape up the ravine wall. Frank shoots the first in the back, drops him. The last soldier makes it to the top, disappears over the ridge. Frank sights in. But he's out of ammunition. The rifle's empty. The soldier's gone. Silence, except for Frank's breathing, ragged, desperate. He's gulping air like a drowning man. The ravine is carnage, bodies everywhere. Japanese soldiers. 26 of them, dead or dying. Frank counts, recounts. 26. 1 got away. He stands there, shaking. Adrenaline's wearing off now, and the pain's flooding in. His back's shredded from grenade fragments. His hands are burned from the machine gun barrel. His ears are bleeding from the concussions. But he's alive. Then he remembers. Jimmy Costello. Still lying in that jungle clearing. Still bleeding. Frank grabs a canteen from a dead Japanese soldier. Drinks. The water's warm, but it's the best thing he's ever tasted. He finds ammunition, reloads the Arisaka. Then he starts climbing out of the ravine. His legs are shaking so bad he can barely stand. But he climbs, hand over hand, pulling himself up. When he reaches the top, he looks back down. 26 bodies. 26 enemy soldiers who thought they'd captured an American, who thought wrong. Frank doesn't feel proud, doesn't feel victorious. He feels hollow, empty, like something inside him died down in that ravine and didn't come back up. The jungle's quiet again. Frank stumbles through the trees, following his own path back to where he left Jimmy. It takes him 20 minutes, maybe 30. Time's got no meaning anymore. Everything's moving in slow motion. He finds the clearing, finds Jimmy, still alive, still breathing. Ski. Jimmy's voice is weak, barely a whisper. You came back. Frank nods, can't speak. His throat's too tight. He tears Jimmy's uniform, packs the wound with a field dressing. The bullet went through clean, missed the bone. Jimmy'll live, if they can get him to a medic. Frank gets Jimmy up, slings him over his shoulders in a fireman's carry, and starts walking. 1 foot in front of the other. The Arisaka's in his right hand. Jimmy's groaning with every step, but he's alive. That's all that matters. They walk for an hour. Maybe 2. Frank's vision is tunneling. Black spots dancing in front of his eyes. He's on the verge of collapse when he hears American voices. The rescue party. Matthews and the others. They found them. Jesus Christ, Ski! Matthews is running toward him. We thought you were dead. We thought... He stops. Sees the blood. The burns. The shredded uniform. What the hell happened to you? Frank lowers Jimmy to the ground. Gentle. Careful. Then he looks at Matthews. I ran into some Japanese. Matthews waits for more. Frank doesn't elaborate. The medic's working on Jimmy now. Morphine. Bandages. He'll be okay. Matthews keeps staring at Frank. How many? Frank closes his eyes, sees the ravine, sees the bodies, sees that last grenade rolling toward him. 27, he says. Engaged 27 enemy soldiers. Matthews laughs, thinks it's a joke. Bullshit, Ski. Nobody fights 27 Japs alone and lives. Frank shrugs. Opens his eyes. 26, he corrects. 1 got away. Matthews stops laughing. He sees something in Frank's eyes. Something cold. Something broken. You're serious? Frank nods. Doesn't say another word. They carry Jimmy back to base. Frank walks behind them, alone. His hands won't stop shaking, won't stop for 3 days. The officers don't believe him. Captain Richardson calls him into the tent. Private Tachovsky, your after-action report claims you engaged and killed 26 enemy combatants single-handedly using their own grenades and captured weapons. That's not possible. Frank just stares, doesn't argue, doesn't defend himself. Richardson softens his tone. Look, son, I know combat does things to a man's mind. The stress, the fear. Sometimes we remember things differently than they happened. Maybe it was 6 enemies, maybe 8. But 26. Frank stands up. Permission to return to my unit, sir. Richardson waves him away. But 2 days later, a patrol finds the ravine, finds the bodies, counts them, 26 Japanese soldiers. Dead. Most killed by grenade fragments, others shot. The weapons match Frank's story: Type 97 grenades, Arisaka rifle, Browning machine gun. The patrol leader radios back to base. His story checks out, every word. I don't know how he did it, but he did it. Captain Richardson calls Frank back. This time, his tone is different. Respectful. Almost reverent. Private Tachovsky, I owe you an apology. The evidence confirms your account. What you did out there, I've never seen anything like it. I'm recommending you for the Medal of Honor. Frank shakes his head. I don't want it, sir. Richardson blinks. You don't want it? Son, this is the highest honor your country can bestow. Frank's voice is flat, dead. I didn't do anything honorable, sir. I killed 26 men to save one. That's not heroism. That's arithmetic. Richardson doesn't know what to say. He processes the paperwork anyway. But the Medal of Honor never comes. Why? Politics. Bureaucracy. The war's ending. Everyone's focused on Japan's surrender. Frank's story gets lost in the shuffle. Buried in a file somewhere. Forgotten. He gets a Silver Star instead. 3rd highest decoration. Frank doesn't attend the ceremony. Doesn't want the medal. They mail it to him. He throws it in a drawer and never looks at it again. The war ends 4 months later. August 1945. Hiroshima. Nagasaki. Surrender. Frank ships home to Pennsylvania. Back to Conemaugh. Back to coal country. His father's still working the mines. 16-hour shifts. Coming home black with dust. Frank tries to explain what happened, what he did. His father listens, nods. War's hell, son. Best to forget it and move on. But Frank can't forget. Every night he dreams about the ravine. Dreams about the grenades, the explosions, the screams. He wakes up sweating, hands shaking, gasping for air. The doctors call it combat fatigue. Later, they'll call it PTSD. But in 1945, they just tell him to man up, get over it. Frank tries. He gets a job at the steel mill, gets married, has 3 kids, lives a normal life on paper. But inside, part of him never left that ravine, never stopped counting bodies. 26. Always 26. His wife asks him once about the war. Did you see combat, Frank? He looks at her, those same cold eyes Matthew saw. Yeah, I saw combat. She never asks again. Frank Tachovsky dies in 1984. Heart attack. 61 years old. His obituary in the local paper mentions he was a veteran, served in the Pacific, received the Silver Star. That's it. No mention of the 27 Japanese soldiers. No mention of the ravine. No mention of the 47 seconds that defined his entire life. His children find the medal after he dies. In a drawer. Tarnished. Next to it is a small piece of paper. Folded. Yellow with age. They open it. It's a list. 27 names. Japanese names. Written in careful, precise handwriting. Their father's handwriting. At the bottom, a single sentence. I'm sorry. I had no choice. They don't understand. They ask their mother. She doesn't understand either. The paper goes back in the drawer. The drawer gets boxed up. The box goes to storage. The story fades. But here's what Frank Tachovsky's children never knew. What the army never publicized. What history almost forgot. That piece of paper. Those 27 names. Frank spent years researching them, writing letters to Japan, tracking down families, trying to learn who these men were, who they loved, what they dreamed about. Because Frank knew something the officers didn't understand, something the Medal of Honor Committee couldn't quantify. He didn't kill 26 enemies that day in the ravine. He killed 26 people. Soldiers, yes, but also sons, brothers, husbands, fathers, men who laughed and cried and hoped to go home, just like him. One family wrote back, the widow of Sergeant Takashi Yamamoto, the NCO, the man who demanded Frank's surrender. She sent a photo, Yamamoto in uniform, smiling, standing next to a woman holding a baby, his wife, his son. Frank kept that photo until the day he died, kept it in his wallet, right behind the picture of his own family. When his wife found it after his death, she didn't recognize the man in the photo, thought maybe it was an old friend from the service. She threw it away. Never knew. The baby in that photo. Yamamoto's son. He grew up in Osaka, became a teacher, had children of his own, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. He never knew his father died in a ravine on Cebu Island. Never knew an American soldier named Frank Tachovsky felt guilty about it for 40 years. Never knew his father's name was on a list in a Pennsylvania drawer. History doesn't record these connections, doesn't talk about the cost. We talk about the heroism, the valor, the impossible odds, 27 against 1. We make it sound glorious. But Frank Tachovsky knew the truth. There's nothing glorious about killing, even when you have to, even when it's you or them, even when you win. So what do we take from this story? What's the lesson? Maybe it's this. War doesn't create heroes. It creates survivors. And sometimes survivors do extraordinary things. Things that look like heroism from the outside, but feel like horror from the inside. Frank Tachovsky survived 47 seconds that would have killed anyone else. He used enemy grenades against enemy soldiers in a display of tactical brilliance that military academies still study. He saved his own life and his buddy's life through sheer courage and split-second decision-making, but he paid for it, every single night for the rest of his life. The cost of survival isn't always visible, isn't always physical. Sometimes it's carried in a wallet, in a list of names, in dreams that won't stop coming. Frank Tachovsky was a hero, but he was also a man who understood that every enemy has a face, a family, a future that ended in a ravine on a forgotten island, in a war that ended 80 years ago. Remember him. Remember them all. Because war isn't about numbers. It's not about 27 against 1 or impossible odds or viral stories. It's about people, on both sides, who did terrible things because they had no choice, and lived with it, or didn't. Frank lived with it for 39 years. Then his heart gave out. Maybe from the shrapnel still lodged in his back. Maybe from carrying 26 names for 4 decades. We'll never know, but we can remember. And maybe that's enough.